All right, good morning. What's going on there, folks? Thanks for checking in here. It is Tuesday, November 14th, 2023, about 10:47 a.m. here. California time. Latest activity shows a 4.0. Also did see some larger scale activity overnight, right around our watch zone where we were chatting about here all day yesterday. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. Want to cover the activity there in Iceland right off the bat. This is the latest information statement put up here across the area of Iceland, Grindavik Iceland area, still seeing a very good likelihood of an eruption very soon. The newly activated graben at the Grindavik remains active. Now, the graben is basically a section of the Earth's crust that is somewhat lowered relative to the blocks on either side of it, on the land on either side of it. It's basically a rift type zone out here across Iceland, and that's what we're seeing. We've seen that here on the GPS displacements around the 10th and 11th time frame here. We did at first notice a lot of swelling going on here across this area. Inflation, a lot of inflation here across this area, north of Grindavik area of Iceland. And now that has lowered basically in a deformation of the land, deflation of the land here, with magma kind of moving all around this area. Right now, at least according to this map, it looks like it's uplifting here further to the east of the Grindavik area of Iceland. Since midnight, November 14th, over 700 earthquakes have been located along the orientation of the magma intrusion. Again, that's that red line area. Been showing out here about a 15-kilometer long magma intrusion, not specifically to this width of the line, but in a general section out here. And we've seen that on that, again, that inflation data showing various elevation changes out there. It means that magma is definitely moving around underneath the surface. We did have a, looks like a 3.1, a 3.8 the other night. Most of the earthquakes are occurring along the magma intrusion, and with the majority being micro-earthquakes, commonly at focal depths of about 3 to 5 kilometers, but still got quite a bit going on down there. Let's see here. The magma intrusion is thought to be around 800 meters below the surface, but there's a little bit of uncertainty. Of course, you can't be exactly accurate when it comes to figuring out how deep that magma is below the surface, but they're thinking that the intrusion is right around 800 meters. Looks like they have installed some SO2 detectors around the Grindavik area. In summary, and we don't have an eruption yet. The likelihood of an eruption remains high. If an eruption occurs, the most likely location will be on the magma intrusion. Again, this area right around here, and we can see it on the earthquake map where everything is taking place. Let me go over here to the latest earthquake map for the Iceland region, and we'll see what's going on. Last 6 hours, 149 earthquakes. That's actually a pretty good drop. That's just the last 6 hours. I'm sure there'd be more if we go back into time. But on average here, these 6-hour maps are getting lower and lower. But you can still see that area of the magma intrusion. Very prominent here on this map, right? It's this line right here. And that's exactly what I showed you guys here on this map. That includes a portion here of the Grindavik area of Iceland. Literally earthquakes going underneath the town itself. I did see some reports there of some cracks and whatnot going on at the surface area. Not a good scenario at all for these folks. About 3,600 population density up here. And this town has been evacuated with periodic allowing folks to get back in and get a few things, because if this turns into an eruption, say it breaks around this area, this town ultimately could be no more. But this is a rift zone up here. This is a divergent boundary. It's in terms of plate tectonics, this could remain quiet for many, many years, and we could have communities and settlements build up here, and then all of a sudden the Earth decides to do what it has been doing for a long time, and that's create havoc out here by creating these volcanic intrusions and eruption events out here. Again, no eruption yet, but we'll continue to watch that. No changes there on the eruption status. Just because we're getting a little bit of deflation here, higher over here, just means that the magma is rolling around and moving underneath the ground. All right, let's get back to earthquake activity. Here's some movement we seen last night, late last night, 6.1 out there in the South Indian Ocean. Now, that's a little odd, right? Why is it out there away from the plate boundary? Goodness. Let's take a look at historical data and see what we got for the historical movements out here. As you can see, we've had a handful of earthquakes away from the plate boundary throughout time, and some of them can be up there in the magnitude as well. Basically, these could be fractures out there in the oceanic crust where we're seeing some of that earthquake activity take place. The 90 East Ridge out here, you can kind of see that. So there is definitely some plate dynamics out here. It's a ways away from the plate boundary where we see most of the earthquake activity, but occasionally those things do pop up. I know I was chatting about watching the Java Trench in areas northward. Well, this right here just kind of tells me that there's further strain that we should be watching out here across that region. We get these intraplate earthquakes going on. So that's I think that's the biggest one that we've seen overnight, 6.1. Looks like earlier this morning we did see a 5.9 down into the Papua New Guinea area once again, 58 kilometers deep here. I've been bouncing back and forth between a couple different segments, but that I'm still kind of keeping my eye on that area of the Java Trench here for some movement. Just looks like the likelihood is going up with this increasing activity off the plate boundary itself. Down along the Kermadec Trench, seen a 5.4. There we go. Get my numbers right here. It's not Monday, it's Tuesday. 77 kilometers deep here into the area of the Kermadec Trench. New Zealand area overnight. Let's see what we got for them. Looks like we did see a handful of earthquakes there in the 3 range over the last 24 hours. Nothing major going on there yet. 4.0 Indonesia Islands area, getting that huge cluster going on here again across the area. But I got my money here across the Java Trench for now. Let's see here. Kuril Kamachaka, a couple 4s and some smaller quakes across this area overnight. Into the Alaska area, Aleutian Trench looks fairly active up here. With some 3s and maybe some 4s out there across the area. Mixed bag of deep earthquake movement and shallow activity. Across the Pacific Northwest, relatively quiet. A couple earthquakes there around the Mount Rainier and the Mount St. Helens area, but no major changes there across that region for now. One earthquake here outside of Berkeley, 2.1, 9 kilometers deep. That looks like that's on the Hayward Fault Zone. Quite a few fault systems here across the Bay Area that are primed for some earthquake activity. Again, we just, similar to volcanic activity, right? When you live on a volcano or around it or in a major rift zone, divergent boundary out here, Mother Nature is going to roll around sooner or later and mess up the plans here that humans, have built up for, I don't know how old that town is out here, the Grindavik area of Iceland. But sooner or later, living around those areas, Mother Nature tends to take back what was given to the humans out there. And that's similar to the earthquake activity fault systems out here in California. We've all been sufficiently building up, civilization out here. Massive population across the Bay Area. Last huge earthquake, if you really think about it, a big one, 1906. The 1989 earthquake here was a little south of the region. San Francisco, I've seen a little bit of, definitely seen some damage out here, but there's a lot more in the future here in terms of large-scale activity, just a matter of time. Again, time is everything. Don't let your guard down out there. Southern California, same deal. Anywhere along a major plate boundary, the future is not so bright in terms of earthquake activity. I don't mean to be gloomy on this Tuesday, but you know, these are facts here when you live around earthquake country and even away from the plate boundary. That's why we have all these other fault systems out here scattered out and about across many areas of the world, and they may not be able to produce an 8-pointer. Say, for example, this one up here, the fault system outside of Alturas. But when you live along the plate boundary here and they run through lots of population, yeah, those earthquakes can create havoc. All right, Southern California for now, a couple smaller quakes, nothing big. Yellowstone National Park, super volcano, again, one day, that may not be so quiet and beautiful. That's just a fact. Super volcanoes are majorly life-changing for the globe. All right, let's see. Let me zoom in here to the Yellowstone overview real quick. I just want to see what we have going on. Looks like one little earthquake around the Holmes Hill area. Kind of looks like that's where it's at. Holmes Hill area of Yellowstone. Maybe Maple Creek looks to be the closest. Hard to tell. There's only a handful of earthquakes, though, listed up on the map. Nothing big. And I think 0.6, 6 hours ago. I don't know if that's a 0.6 or not on that map. I don't think it is. It looks a little bit bigger. Hold on a second here. 6 hours ago. 11. I don't think that's it. No, the point something other, it might be this one right here, but this one's a little bit bigger than a 0.6. That's for sure. That's got to be at least a lower grade 1 magnitude. Nothing big. All right. Texas, Oklahoma, still seeing some activity, although not quite as active today. But this region down here in Texas has definitely been kicking up here over the past 10 days or so. I would say more so than normal. We're looking at 571 earthquakes on this area of the map. There's about 10,000 earthquakes or so listed on the map itself in general as a whole. But when you're looking at Texas here, we got over 500 earthquakes in the last 30 days, including that big one. Well, kind of a big one for Texas, near the Colson Draw area, 5.2. Shaking things up out there. And all this activity, again, as I mentioned quite a bit here, is legitly out in these oil fields where there's pumping operations and wastewater disposal ponds. Look at these little ponds out here. There's a whole process involved in that. The facts don't lie. The charts and the graphs don't lie. All right. Turn that off. The rest of the country out here looks pretty quiet. Hawaii, what's going on out here? Any major changes? Another area we're kind of watching with the influx of magma going on out here. 2.9 near Pahala. Also got some activity up here around the Kilauea volcano itself. Pretty shallow, but a kilometer or so below the surface. Let's go ahead and check out, see what's going on there across the big island of Hawaii. They got it put out. It's already put out. Goodness. All right, Kilauea volcano is not erupting. This is put out today. The unrest associated with the intrusion that began back in early October southwest of Kilauea Summit continues. An earthquake swarm located immediately south of the Kilauea caldera, which began Friday, persists with moderate level. Friday, the November 10th time frame, persists with moderate levels of seismicity, and HVO continues to monitor this activity. Let's check out the tilt meter here. It looks like they mentioned about that it has resumed longer-term trends over the past 24 hours, suggesting inflation of a source south of the crater area. That's what I've been saying all along here in the past couple weeks. The majority of the magma seems to be in this area accumulating. Not so much as what we had seen there around the Kilauea lava lake area, which could open up, activate, or open up maybe some fissures out here away from this lava lake area. That's been filling up like crazy over the past couple eruptions confined to the area here. But I think here with this new activity stirring up, we may see something pop here. within this zone. You can kind of see where all the earthquake activity has been confined here to this region. Overall, this entirety right here showing quite a bit of intrusive magma below the surface. Very minimal up here across this region. Doesn't mean it may not find other sources up through this area and continue through the recent eruption fissures. But I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards this area. Just a thought here. It's very possible. Let me go over here to the volcano hazards map and see what's going on with some tilt meters and whatnot. Tuesday, we got a couple sprinkles out here in Northern California. Today was supposed to be our big day where we got 2 inches of rainfall, but the weather models were they were overestimating the low pressure system. So it's all that fresh rainfall's falling out in the ocean to our west, and we're left with a few sprinkles for now. Tilt meter. Here's the overall trend. It's been going up over the past 30 days. More so since about the 5th of November. Notice a sharp rise here, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's just one of those things with time. I think we'll see this kick up here pretty soon. It may take a little bit longer to see things break through the surface, but I think we will see this area activated here soon. Camera view of the lava lake area where the past few eruptions have taken place still shows, underneath this area there's still heated material, and that's going to create volcanic gases and other cracks and whatnot down below are creating the escape of those gases here to the surface, and that will continue. Like I say, there's definitely a couple different scenarios of it maybe reopening up here as far as the eruption phase goes, but there's a lot going on underneath this volcano, and a lot of it seems like it wants to build up in this area. We're continued high, super high inflation, more so than what we've seen in the past couple eruption phases there across Kilauea volcano. So I think things are building. All right, let's see what else we got across this area of the world. Looks like Italy had a 4.4 early this morning. See what we got here. Mediterranean area seeing a handful of earthquakes, including some 4s out there. It looks like USGS really not showing too much here on this map. But looks like we are seeing indeed a little bit of earthquake activity. Of course, Iceland, continue to watch that. South Sandwich Trench, looks like a 5-pointer down there. Overnight, is that a 5 or a 4? Which one's it going to be? How'd I know? 4.9 South Sandwich Trench, about 10 kilometers deep or so. All right, we'll definitely provide updates on the Iceland activity should things change. Space weather activity right now getting quite a few sunspots here, waving goodbye across the western limb. See you later. Didn't really do much for us. Oh, we got a little bit of CME activity, right? A few nights ago. Now we're left, at least center disk, pretty quiet. We do have a couple different active regions here across the eastern limb of the sun, and they have not been named yet. Here's one of the active regions. Looks pretty large here. Really can't see any super definite complexity within that sunspot core, but we'll continue to watch that for some activity. Right now, 90% chance for a C flare, M flare at 25, and the X flare probability around 5% or so. Aurora is kind of kicking up right now. Not for sure where that's coming from. But looks like maybe a little bit of aurora is kicking up out here across the sleepy side of the Earth, where folks are sleeping, hopefully. All right, weather outlook here today. See what's going on for the weather. I don't think we got any severe weather going on. Just looks like thunderstorm activity there across portions of Florida. Out here across the west coast, well, we do have some rain coming in right now, mainly staying offshore. We did have a couple sprinkles here outside of Chico earlier. That's not going to be too much today. I think I still hear it sprinkling. Some more rain possible as we head into early Thursday And as that low pressure system, it doesn't look all that. This is just, it had potential, but it's just disorganized, wrong, basically wrong position out here, dumping all that fresh water, rainfall out in the Pacific, when we could have used it out here across the state of California. So it looks like we are not getting too much from that system. And as far as the potential for future storms go, well, I'm hoping we get more than that. Coming up into December here, we should start seeing some big-time storms hit the West Coast. Just a bummer when you have the potential to drop a whole lot of moisture and it just backs offshore there. Crazy. Let's see with the symbols here real quick. We'll take a little quick here at next week. I'll go into next week and look here around Thanksgiving time frame. Right about here, goodness, that's a whole lot of orange on the map. I do not like that one bit. And that's parked right over here across the West Coast. It looks like it's going to be dry and above average temperatures here for Thanksgiving area, Thanksgiving Day. Cooler out here, a little troughing going on across the eastern portion of the country. But, man, just a weird start to the year. The year, meaning the our rainfall year out here along the West Coast. We should be seeing a whole bunch of rain right now. Let's check out the current radar imagery here and see where most of that rain is falling right now. Radar and satellite imagery, weather radar. Again, we've got a few sprinkles out here in Northern California, including my neck of the woods outside of Chico, but most of this is going to stay offshore. Rain accumulation here, of course, according to these folks, not a whole lot inland. Most of that precious water out there into the Pacific. Next 5 days adds a little bit of further moisture out here, but I don't know. We'll see how much this rings true. That's really about it. Really nothing big in the next 10 days. Most of the moisture will be some today and then a little bit this weekend, it looks like, here for the West Coast area. Next 10 days across the rest. Look at all this moisture up here. Look at that jet. That's what I'm talking about. That needs to be aimed right here. And most of the time in an El Nino event, it is. So we'll watch that. All we need basically is some high pressure building up here to lower that jet pattern a little bit more towards California area. Something to watch pretty closely. That's a lot of moisture coming in. If we can just get that aimed right here, we can get some of this. I would be okay with that. 13 inches of rain over the next 10 days, that's a lot. But, yeah, we need that kind of aimed in this direction. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Again, Iceland volcano, still watching it. It could happen any day now. It could happen right after this update. It could happen here in a couple days. We'll continue to watch that and report back on any major changes out here for the area of Iceland. Take care, folks, and have a wonderful day. And enjoy the rainfall if you have it.